Hello?
Yes.
This is Dave Koresh. I'm supposed to call you guys.
This is who, sir?
David Koresh. Mount Carmel Center, we're being shot all up out here.
Okay, where are you?
Oh, where am I? I'm at Mount Carmel Center.
Okay, hang on just a second.
All right.
Best band in the room.
They are definitely the best band that is here tonight. You are 100% correct.
People that listen to our show every week, they're probably like, want to know more about this mysterious band. But you're going to have to Google it. I mean, that's what Google's for.
Yeah, we're afraid that they'll be taken away from us. Welcome back for another exciting edition of the Dinner in Hell podcast, the show where two amateur historians talk about the atrocious underbelly of history. I am one of your co-hosts, Brad the Impaler, and with me, as always, a delightfully raspy Ron Maiden.
That's right. A voice that could just cuts through the bullshit.
It is also flu season.
King, what did you call me the other episode? A couple episodes back, you were like, podcast royalty.
Something like that.
Podcast number one podcast amateur historian history.
The king of amateur history podcasts.
Oh my God, this is episode 62.
62.
Think of a famous 62, can you?
Nope.
Freaking year 1962. Everyone remembers that. What went down. We won't talk about it right now, though.
So good.
But today, oh my God, this is about Waco, Texas. This is going to be a tale of misunderstood people who prayed a lot and also illegally modified weapons.
And also had some real weird stuff going on with the way they had sex with one another.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing up you said sex, right?
I did.
I thought you said sects.
No, just the one sect.
This is a religious themed episode. We're going to talk about the Advent religion, right?
Seventh-day Advent. Well, it's like a splinter group of a splinter group of a splinter group of a splinter group
that only reads one part of the Bible. Like, you just got to skip all the way to Revelations, man. That's the good part. It's the only part we even read.
These folks did seem to focus pretty heavy on that.
Like the Revelations snobs. That's what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, this one, pretty recent too. Most of this you've probably heard some version of before.
I watched it on TV.
Yeah, I remember watching it live.
That's crazy.
Of course, we're talking about the Branch Davidians.
That's right. We're talking about Waco, Texas.
David Koresh.
Quote unquote.
Yeah, good point.
It was not his birth name.
No, and I figure that's a good place to start with the man himself. You think?
Hell yeah. I mean, let's start with the man, Vernon, from birth.
Good old Vern.
We're going to get his whole life and up until Waco getting raided by the ATF. We're going to fit it all into a tight little 1 hour program.
As with any cult or religious sect, it usually, in the end, can boil down to one person. And for the Branch Davidians, that was Mr. David Koresh, as we would come to know him. He was born in 1959 to a 14-year-old single mother. During his mother's pregnancy, his father met a different teenage girl and dipped out with her. So 14-year-old single mother. That's how Vernon Wayne Howell came into the world in Houston, Texas.
Back then, that kind of welfare setup was like you'd go down and get cheese for free.
Government cheese.
Yeah, like a big cube of it, and you'd slice it. You have to get a cheese slicer with a little wire on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I know there was cheese. I think you could get eggs, maybe.
Eggs. I think there was crackers too.
Butter,
bread, maybe.
And maybe milk? I don't know.
Maybe. The United States government does subsidize milk quite a lot, I think.
So 14-year-old single mother has to raise this boy.
Yeah, I mean, charitably, we could call his family situation dysfunctional. I think that would be like a charitable assessment. As you may have guessed with a lot of these psychos that we talk about on this show, fucked up life as kids.
Yeah.
Things don't go well for them. They don't tend to.
I want to just, if you could, just paint this picture for this 14-year-old mom real quick. That's like 11th grade or like, no. That's like
freshman or sophomore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was 14, I think, when I was a sophomore. Most of the people were 15.
We may have talked about this on the show already, but you had pregnant girls in high school?
No, I don't think so.
We had a lot. We had so many that we had a daycare, like a nursery at our school.
Yeah.
For their kids.
Well, that's good. That's supportive.
Yeah.
That way they can still get an education.
Can you imagine like the bullshit of high school, like this age, and then like all of a sudden you got a baby thrown at you? Like,
I don't have any children now. I'm in my 30s.
Dude, man, like once you have a kid, like all other things are like bullshit. Like, please, like once you have a kid, it's way different your perspective.
I can only imagine.
Yeah. 14-year-old mom, go.
Yeah, well, so for the first 4 years of his life, his mother was shacked up to an extremely violent alcoholic who abused the both of them. So that's how you come into the world. That's what you're greeted with. A life of violence and fear.
Again, young man subjected to it at a young age without a real father figure.
Mm-hmm. For a while, he spent about 3 years being raised by his maternal grandmother until his mom remarried and got him back when he was 7. At about age 8, a year after he's back with his mom as new stepfather, he is gang raped by a group of older boys.
How'd that happen? Where'd that go down? Do you know?
No, that's all the info I got on that.
I have another childhood thing I heard on some of the video I was watching for research. Freaking one of them said that on one of his birthdays, his mother beat him black and blue in front of all his friends, like during birthday time.
Almost sounds like the punishments Fish kind of got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like humiliation beating.
Either way, what we can definitely take from this is the man had an extremely traumatic childhood.
Yes. Not to mention, he eventually was placed into special education classes.
Yep, that doesn't tend to go over well for your social life as a kid, I imagine.
Right.
He never made it through high school. He dropped out when he was a junior.
Yeah. Like, he couldn't take high school as a junior, right? He's like, I just can't fucking do this, Mom. Yeah, your mom had a kid at that age.
Yeah, 2 years younger than you were then.
Toughen up. Finish high school, Vernon.
Yeah, I mean, you really do want to get through at least high school, you know?
Yeah.
That tends to be helpful. Well, 59, we're talking about like 1968. You could probably get by without a high school diploma then.
And hello to all the listeners that found us via the hashtag dropout, high school dropout hashtag.
What's up?
Hey.
I mean, things didn't get too much better for him as a young adult either. I mean, if you want to talk about how history can repeat itself, he has an affair with and impregnates a 15-year-old girl. Now, it might be unfair for me to use the word girl by some perspectives because I believe the age of consent in Texas was 14 at the time. But I'm going to go ahead and say it. That's a girl. That's not a woman.
Yeah.
This is a real fucked up thing to do, whether it's legal or not.
This would also make it, if he's 22 years old, it would take us to the year 1981, and which means he just missed like that free love 70s.
Yes.
So there's like no excuse for this shit, Mr. Vernon. I'm not calling him David yet.
He's heavily religious by this period of time, though, already. I mean, by the time he's 18, from some accounts, he has memorized the entire Bible.
Dang.
Yeah, so he's one of those weirdos that at a drop of a hat can be like, Isaiah 22:16 says this.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of them.
Who isn't though? I memorized it. I didn't do it that fast, but I still memorized it.
Yeah, it took me till I was at least 26 or 27 to get the whole Bible down.
It took me 18 months.
I mean, sure, the Old Testament I had mastered before I could walk. But the new one, it took forever.
Wait, are we talking in Latin or in English?
Both, of course.
Okay, so I was talking Latin. I never fuck with the English version.
I mean, what's the point when you got that original?
It's translated goofy.
Yeah, he pursues very aggressively the 15-year-old daughter of the pastor of the church that he's at during this period of time, still in Houston. Not surprisingly, when he mentions this to the pastor says, "Stop, this is super inappropriate. What's the matter with you?" And he doesn't stop because he likes to get what he wants, as you'll see. And eventually he's expelled from this congregation. It was a Southern Baptist congregation. Mm-hmm. And after that is when he moves on to the Seventh-day Adventists. Also, now making his move from Houston to Waco. So we're here in Waco. Koresh comes into town, and here is the fateful moment when he becomes involved with the Branch Davidians. We mentioned it briefly earlier. The Branch Davidians were a splinter group from the Seventh-day Adventists. So a splinter group of a splinter group of a splinter group. This particular one founded at some point in the 30s. They were always sort of apocalyptic in belief, but you'll see that jacked up to 11 after Koresh eventually wrangles control of this little group.
They also heavily focused on this second coming of Christ.
Yes, absolutely.
Isn't it called the Advent of Christ? That's what Advent comes from.
Yeah, that's why for Catholics, the period of time before Christmas is called Advent. They have little calendars where you open one every day, you get a chocolate.
Yeah, did you see Bad Santa?
I have
candy corn in there and shit. When he binges, he comes home fucked up and he just goes through the dude's advent thing and takes all the chocolate out. Kid's oh, this one's got candy corn. I think, right?
Did he try to replace it?
Yeah, right.
Like a nickel in there. It sounds familiar. Yeah.
Welcome back to Video Store Rewind, where we discuss Christmas movies starring Billy Bob Thornton.
All right, so let's get back to Waco. Koresh storms into town. He finds the Branch Davidians, and he begins an affair with a woman named Lois Roden, who is this current spiritual leader of this group of people.
Just say it. The title. I'm waiting.
Oh, she's the prophetess.
Yes.
Yeah, she receives the visions from God and relays that info to the faithful.
No, tell me that's not another Dinner in Hell band name right there. Prophetess.
Yeah, that's pretty dope. Be like a Doom band.
Have it just really messed up logo.
Yeah, open up for Electric Wizard.
Yes. They're from Thailand. They don't speak English.
Prophetess?
Yeah.
Guatemala.
Yeah, they don't speak English. From Myanmar.
Oh, Lois Roden, also 65 years old.
Hot.
I don't know, but I'm gonna have to guess probably not.
Hot enough for Vernon, right?
I think he was more after the power.
But she held the power.
He did, as the kids say, hit that.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was her concubine.
Concubine. Yeah.
Throwback from our Wu-Zacian episode.
Yeah, this is almost like a reverse of that. He's trying to concubine his way to the top of this cult.
Yeah. Get over here, what's her name? Lois?
Lois Roden. Well, see, the thing is there's already kind of an heir apparent to Lois, much like Wu had to deal with. she had a son named George, and George had his eyes set on leading the cult after his ma kicked the bucket too.
He's like, I'm son of God. Vernon's like, I'm son of God too. I don't think so.
He's like, God damn it, I've been waiting for my ma to die for like 3 decades now, and you're trying to take over this bullshit.
You come in here freaking showing off your body, your muscles, your guitar playing style. Yeah,
those just sweet locks.
Your hair.
Flowing in the wind.
Your aviator sunglasses.
Those were just prescriptions. Those were scripts, baby.
They tinted in the light.
Did they?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I think he was an indoor guy.
But we didn't mention up through this time he was a musician and he played electric guitar and he played guitar and he was like, I guess he used to really want to be a rock star, but then he was like, you know what? I don't want to be a rock star anymore. I want to be a God star.
Yeah. He could kind of play, he could kind of sing. I mean, he wasn't great or anything. I don't think there was a great clamber for him outside of Waco, but when he was there, people enjoyed watching him play.
Yeah, there's music of his on YouTube. If we can get it play on the show somehow, we will.
Mm-hmm.
If we find something good.
Yeah, at this time too is when he does change his name to David Koresh. I mean, it's a pretty blatant, like, I don't know, like publicity stunt because he's in the Branch Davidians. He changed his name to David.
But no, it's for David, like, you know, King David.
Yeah, that's also what Davidian's for, though.
Oh, I knew that. Everyone knows that, Impaler. What are you talking about? Trying to make me look stupid, BT? It's not going to happen.
I would never do that. It's impossible.
That was a Dinner in Hell original stupid moment.
Well, yeah. He's trying to establish his lineage to King David. And then Koresh is the biblical name for Kurash the Great. Some of you may pronounce that Cyrus, which I'm told is also acceptable.
Growing up, we called it Cyrus.
Yeah, it's Cyrus, or it's either Cyrus or Kurash the Great. He is regarded as heroic because in the Bible, he was a Persian king who freed the Jews from slavery in Babylon.
Growing up, we called that Babylon.
I just know that Babylon is where all of the bad stuff is to reggae dudes.
I can't believe you pronounce it like that. It's always been Babylon. Can you just say that again, but say Babylon? Persian king.
Kurash the Great was a Persian king who freed the Jews from slavery in Babylon.
See? Doesn't it sound much?
It sounds way more like official, like that. Babylon.
What if you were like a metal band and you're called Babylon? And like you get to you're like ready to come out, curtains still, the lights are out, your crowd's chanting, Babylon, and you're like, what the fuck? No. No, attention, please. We're not called Babylon. We're called Babylon. You got it all wrong. We're not a religious band.
We don't want the Rastafarians to be angry with us.
Our bassist, Lonnie, that was his nickname his sister gave him when he was a baby.
Yeah, Babylon.
It's Babylon. You guys got it all wrong.
This is his solo project.
God damn it.
1985, George and several armed members of the sect eventually banished Koresh and about 25 followers at gunpoint, and they would have to set up camp a few miles down the road, living rough in old buses and tents.
Roughing it.
Yeah, oh, definitely. No running water, no electricity, which might have primed them for something in the future.
Freaking Bear Grylls shows up. He's like, I got you. What you want to do first is drink your own urine.
That's a given.
You want to trap trout in the local stream. Oh, wait, you don't have water source. You don't have running water. Probably has a little desert Texas stream flowing through there.
Maybe like a well or something. I don't fucking know.
You're going to eat armadillo.
They could have just like gone to the store and bought it too.
Yeah. Got a jug of water today. Woo.
Yeah, well, during this period of time, Koresh expands out, too. He starts trying to bring in people from all around the world. He travels as far as, like, England, Australia, Israel. There wound up being Branch Davidians from kind of all over.
Yeah.
A year later, after about a year of living rough like this, Lois eventually dies. Now, at this point, even though he was banished, Koresh had the majority of support of the Davidians, not George. So this eventually sparked a good old-fashioned power struggle. And this struggle eventually culminates in George challenging Koresh to a dead raising contest. You know, as always happens.
I challenge you to a zombie off.
Yeah, exactly. George goes so far as to actually dig up a dead body and pull it out of the ground.
First, you gotta find a dead body. I know where one's at, buried.
Don't ask why.
I just know there's one by the creek. And then we're gonna raise it from the dead. And then we're gonna kill it again because he was an asshole when he was alive in the first place. That's why he's dead. Don't ask questions.
Well, Koresh, he's no dummy. He knows that he can't raise people from the dead, so in order to try and make a play to take over, he goes to the cops. He snitches. It's like, hey, this dude's digging up dead bodies. And the cops are like, well, we can't do shit unless you have evidence of it for us.
Let me go get it.
Yeah, so Koresh and a posse strap up. They got rifles and shit. And they go to the compound to get a picture of the dead body. But George, he ain't playing no shit either. So he waits for Koresh and they ambush him. And they have a fucking gunfight. Like a good old-fashioned shoot 'em up. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, by the time the police get there, George is hurt. He's wounded, hiding behind a tree. And Koresh and his followers are arrested. But they eventually all get off in court, though, because they were kind of sent there by the police to get evidence of a crime.
So that's their, like, angle?
Yeah, that's how they get off in court. They're like, well, you kind of told us to go do this. And we were defending ourselves. They ambushed us.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but George, for some reason, didn't get in trouble in this for it. However, George does find himself in a little bit of trouble that eventually resolves this power struggle forever. Somebody else pipes up.
George turns pro dead body raiser?
No.
Oh.
No. A third Branch Davidian starts claiming to be the Messiah, the returning, like, Jesus Christ.
Koresh is rolling his eyes. Please.
Yeah, come on, buddy. It's getting old. But George, he don't take it with much grace. He loses it. And this dude named Wayman Dale Adair, George smashed his head in with an axe.
The Shining.
Shining style. He married him and then took him to this giant hotel for the winter where nobody could get in and they couldn't get help. And then the haunted
Talking
hotel.
Boulder,
yeah,
Colorado.
Yeah, it drove George insane.
Cabin fever. Plus the hotel was haunted. Yeah. And it turns out George has always
and that
been
boiler.
There.
You got to pay attention to the boiler.
George has always been there.
Well, yeah, so after George cracks this dude's head open with an axe, he spends the rest of his days in a psychiatric institution. And that clears the way. Koresh ascends to the leadership of the Branch Davidians.
It's my church, my cult, my compound, my children.
Yeah, he takes total control of the Mount Carmel facility, the compound. Yeah, I know I've mentioned it before, but damn, would I ever love to have a compound.
Yeah.
Just saying that sentence like, oh, I've got to get back to my compound.
I like the idea of the cult, like the community. I like that.
Yeah, like if I could have a good cult.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't want to get rich. I don't want everybody's money. I also don't want to fuck anybody's wives or kids.
See The Village, M. Night Shyamalan?
Mm-hmm.
They lived in that village, secluded.
Yeah, where they're like...
Beautiful.
Oh, you can't leave because the scary monsters.
Yeah, don't wear freaking red. People said that there was clues in the background that gave it away that it was modern still.
You know, I thought I had that movie figured out the whole time. I thought, because like wasn't yellow the good color and red was the bad color?
Yeah.
I thought that there would have been another village where red was the good color and yellow was the bad color that they were scared of, and they were just seeing one another occasionally in the woods and getting terrified.
Yeah.
But I was wrong.
Yeah. I guess like there's like lights in the, you know how they do like the lookouts at night on the border? Like there was like street lights, you know, like posts. Like
I never caught those.
Yeah, you gotta look for them or something. Talking about the village, you guys, and welcome back.
It's fashionable to shit on Shyamalan these days, but I enjoyed The Village. I thought it was a good movie.
I'm down with all his stuff. Even
Adrian Brody crushed that movie. He was really good in it.
Even The Wind. The Wind I even liked.
I saw it in the theaters. I don't remember
The Happening.
The Happening.
Yeah, I saw it in the theater.
I remember being a little bit disappointed in Wahlberg's performance.
See, no, that's got to be a problem. Then you get the problem, you get the solution, and then it takes what you got to have a common factor and a common denominator. He's trying to figure out like what it could be.
I just don't buy it from him.
It's got to be in the air. Spread out. This is my rifle.
Yeah, why don't you just give up acting and go back to beating Vietnamese guys blind? You never heard about that?
No.
When he was like 17 years old, from like a drug debt, he beat this Vietnamese guy so badly that he went blind.
Holy shit.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg was like a fucking hood.
Now he's a freaking
Restaurateur.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder what kind of restitution he's made to that dude or his family. I shouldn't say that. There may have been some. I just not paying attention.
If your name is Mark Wahlberg and you're listening to this and you want to chime in, just contact us on social media. We're everywhere. Except we're everywhere but Instagram.
I mean, I know you've already messaged us a few times, but we don't have a format that allows guests yet, Mark. So, but we will happily rebroadcast your apology statement.
Everywhere but Instagram is pretty much nails it, right?
Yeah.
We're not on Periscope.
Well, we could easily be. That's a Twitter thing.
We're not.
We've never been.
Never will be.
Fuck Periscope.
Okay, so Koresh takes over. It's his church.
Yeah, he's running the show now.
And what's he telling everybody that gets him to believe?
Well, but like we said before, Prime, they had apocalyptic beliefs.
Yeah.
They were a doomsday cult.
Yeah.
They believed they were living in the end times, the literal biblical end times from Revelation.
It could be any day.
Exactly. On top of that, they all believed that Koresh was God's hand-picked hero who would lead them through the apocalypse into a new world together, with him as its king, and then a series of children that he would father to be the church elders that would rule this completely new world.
Did they have to be all from a different mother?
I think so.
Good freaking line, Koresh.
Yeah,
Y'all gotta be from a different mother. All 24, you line up.
Oh, also, by the way, creating new rules all the time.
God picked me to be his hero and lead you into the promised land as your king / lead guitarist.
Yeah, so this plan did involve him fathering tons of children with many women, again, and girls, that would serve as the elders. A word that he had for himself, he called himself the Sinner Messiah. Sort of like his opinion of himself, or at least what he preached to his followers, was that he was sort of a diet Jesus. Like, I'm almost as good as Jesus. Like, I'm not perfect, but like I'm pretty good. Like, I'm almost Jesus.
I'm like a poor man's Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you might not be able to get Jack Nicholson, but you could get your hands on Christian Slater.
people out there that have like a Save-A-Lot in their community, it's like that. I'm like Save-A-Lot. I'm not quite Meijer, Kroger, Publix. I'm more like Save-A-Lot. IGA.
Yeah, I had never thought about that before, but I did. This week's Video Store Rewind reminded me that Christian Slater is the poor man's Jack Nicholson. Did I say Jack Nicklaus earlier? Because I don't mean the golfer. I mean Nicholson.
Oh, from Shining?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Christian Slater looks and talks exactly like him.
Yeah.
The newspaper that would eventually write stories about him also called their series The Sinner Messiah, which would anger him because they meant it a little bit differently than he did. I think their use of the word is fine, though, because one of his wives was 13 years old. That's an 8th grader.
Yeah, I know. It's like, what the hell, Texas? Their consent age was 14. To get this 13-year-old girl, her dad, is this the girl he married?
Yes.
Okay, her dad had to go down and sign and like allow it.
Yeah, it seems like everybody's parents who was 14 was down to have Koresh make their children part of the House of David.
And he's you know what, Koresh with his sexual appetite. Okay, let's not make light of the fact that these are like young people that he's having sex with.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
But at the same time, it's like I keep getting older and they stay the same age. Koresh, he's like.
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
McConaughey in Dazed and Confused. Man, we're just bringing up movies here, folks. If you're a movie lover and if you love cults, this is the episode for you. It's like the 3rd movie we reference, but that's what we do. We're like an episode of Family Guy. We just take your mind in different directions, and then we're back.
Yeah, so I'll tell you what, though. I don't even remotely get how anybody could want to have sex with children.
Right.
I'm happily married. Me and Mrs. the Impaler, we're doing great. But like, I can't even imagine trying to spend a romantic evening with like a 21-year-old.
Right. What would you talk about?
What the fuck would I have in common with you? Let alone a fucking child. Like, what kind of... I don't know, man.
I was talking about that. I was talking about that case of that metal guitarist sending pictures of his privates.
Oh, yeah.
To one of my wives. And I said, I was like, you know that the person is 14, and, you know, in Mr. Koresh's case, 13, 14. You know they're that age.
Yeah, it's not
it's not like you got surprised, like, damn, you look old for 14.
It's not like he picked her up at a bar.
Man, Texas back then was just...
Back then, you mean 1985?
Yeah, I don't know what to say. Yeah.
Another weird thing. Another girl testified in 1995 that Koresh forced her to commit sexual acts as young as 10.
Ew.
Now, I mean, like 14, that might be at least pubescent.
It's
10, you're talking straight up fucking pedophile type shit. It's even grosser.
I find it hard to believe that a man that's so strongly religious would do such a horrible act to a young person under their care.
I don't.
That's a joke.
Do you know why?
Well, yeah, I'm talking about all the headlines of priests. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh.
Now you get it?
Yeah, I get it now.
Yeah. From now on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring a bell every time that I am being sarcastic.
His debauchery was not confined to the children. I mean, I don't think that's good or bad. It was just more awfulness.
He's like, as long as they're female at this point, shit.
Yeah, so if you joined the Branch Davidians and you were married, your marriage was immediately dissolved by Koresh.
Really?
Yeah, he would split you up. Women live upstairs, men live downstairs, and the only man in that compound who's allowed to have any sexual contact with anyone is David Koresh himself.
researching for the show, watching hours of footage of the Waco stuff.
Mm-hmm.
One of the people that lived there was a Branch Davidian, was talking about how he met his wife there. He's like, oh, it was great. I met my wife there. That's where I met my wife. Like, and here you're saying that marriages were just freaking automatically all dissolved. Like, people weren't still married, though.
I don't think so. They may have gotten married if they escaped after or something.
Yeah.
Or they could have been lying.
Oh, maybe he did marry her after.
Yeah, and they did lie. To save appearances, because they didn't want him to know that he was married to such young girls, they would put forward people to be like, no, I'm her husband. Like,
yeah.
But he wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, there was one case where he took this guy's wife and they ended up having a child.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's footage of the woman holding the child. They're going, hey, say hi to grandma, say hi to this. And the person that's filming it is the guy, the husband that he like took the wife from. It's like cold.
Yeah, that would be, I don't know how they ever withstood that kind of, it just shows how strong of a like grasp these cult leaders get on people, where everyone's just totally cool with that.
Prophet's horny. So I'm gonna need someone's wife. Prophet gets horny. He needs to get this situation resolved.
Yeah, it's going to happen because he's the leader of a cult. He can do whatever he wants.
Jesus Christ.
Now, what really kicks things off is two events. A UPS official broke open on accident a package heading to Mount Carmel and found some, I believe it was empty grenade casings and black powder, which is a red flag. Let's go throw up some red flags.
Yeah.
Another thing is people did leave the Branch Davidians, and a lot of them went to a local paper, and they started running these sinful Messiah stories talking about the statutory rape and child abuse that was going on.
Yeah. Word's getting out.
So there was a suspicion of them also stockpiling weapons, which later proved to be true. They operated a legal firearms dealership, but as was evidenced, they were illegally modifying AR-15s with the lower receivers from M16s in order to make them fully automatic weapons, which is not kosher against the law.
Yeah.
So the ATF comes in and they start surveilling them, and the Branch Davidians were bad for sure.
Yeah,
and they weren't.
Well, they were
the
nice
worst.
Neighbors.
Yeah, then the people around them got along with them.
I kind of liked them,
but they were, banging kids in there. Koresh was banging kids in there. They were beating kids in there. Not as bad as of abuse as was they were accused of, but they were.
Not all of them were banging kids. Just one of them.
Yeah, just Koresh was banging kids.
Just the Messiah.
Yeah, but the government, the United States federal government, fucks up an awful lot here. Starting with the surveillance. I mean, the ATF surveillance was insane. They rented a house right across the street from the compound, and all of the quote-unquote college students that were living there were in their like mid-30s, and they all had brand new cars. So it's like obvious giveaway that they're not fucking college students.
And also, picture like a compound, like a house, maybe a silo and a fenced-in area in the middle of like rural, spread out. There's not like a
what
neighborhood.
What fucking college are they going to?
Or not only that, but like, why that house? Why not a house closer to the college? Like, why you're driving all the way to BF Waco?
I have no idea. The ATF getting around town, asking questions and shit too. When they go to a local gun shop, the owner, who was friendly with Koresh, straight up just called up the Mount Carmel compound and told him what was going on, told Koresh what was happening. Koresh was like, hey, can I put the agents on the phone? I want to talk to them. And the agent was like, no. For whatever reason, wouldn't talk to him. And Koresh even invited the agents to come and inspect their firearms and paperwork.
Yeah.
I mean, for all the cultishness of them, which is true, all indications are that this was a confrontation they did not want.
Right. Yeah. All up until the very last minute, they didn't want death.
Yeah, they were trying to get out of this for the most part. There was also an undercover agent that slipped in, although his cover was eventually blown too. Because, I mean, they really bungled this one, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Another false thing that they were operating from is they, for whatever reason, thought that Koresh rarely left the compound, which was absolutely not true. He left the compound all the time. I mean, for a lot of this time, he was like playing in bars and shit. It would have been really fucking easy to arrest this dude when he like went to the grocery store.
Playing in bars?
Playing guitar.
In bars?
He was playing out for periods of time when he was living in Waco.
No way.
Hell yeah, they were putting on concerts and shit.
I thought he did that like in their own little chapel. Like
I'm sure after a while, but
Yeah.
when he first got to Waco, he was still pursuing music a little bit.
Thanks for coming out, supporting the scene. Hey, we're the Davidians. We're good to see a good turnout. When you go to the bar, you have to say you're there to see the Davidians, so they get like $1 per head.
Like a fucking
Who you here to
token.
see? Who you here to see? I'm here to see prophetess. Who you here to see? Here to see Davidians, bro. Waco's finest.
Most I ever made from one of those shows was exactly $54.
Damn. You had 54 friends and family. Your dad.
It was probably like 35 of my personal friends and family, and then actually 20 people who wanted to hear us.
For those that don't know what the hell we're talking about, when you're like an independent musician as a young person, your band plays some of these venues, the venue will charge and ask people at the door who they're there to see, and $1 of your cover goes to that band. That's what I'm trying to explain.
That's still not the worst, though. The worst is when they make you sell tickets.
Here's a stack of tickets, and you have to buy the tickets from them.
Yes.
So
and then you
have to sell
hopefully
them.
get your money back if you sell them all.
On you. Oh, that's awful. Yeah, that exists, people. Don't do it. Don't play places like that.
Yeah, boycott it. Strike against that.
That's not, I mean, I'm sure. Come on. Working on your craft, writing music, recording, you're going to go do that bullshit? No.
Well, all of this bullshit with Koresh and the Davidians culminated in an ATF raid on the compound the morning of February 28th in 1993. The ATF was not able to cleanly assault the building because news reporters had been notified of this. And the morning of the raid, about 45 minutes or so before it was supposed to start, one news van stopped and asked a mailman for directions. It was like, hey, there's this big raid going down today on this Davidian compound. You know where that's at? And he's like, I definitely do, because I'm fucking David Koresh's brother-in-law.
He didn't tell him that, did he?
No.
Oh, okay.
But he did tell Koresh, like, hey, there's a fucking ATF raid on us today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I from what I gathered, it was a photographer that the news sent out as like ahead of time. Like,
that may have been the case.
And the photographer was lost, and he grabs the mailman. Yeah, he's like, "Don't tell anybody, bro, but they're gonna be raiding that frickin' joint." He's like, "Yeah, oh, okay, yeah, mum's the word."
Yep.
Gets on the payphone, calls his bro David.
Mm-hmm. Just let him know what was going on, what was shaking out.
Batten down the hatches. They're coming.
So he had advance warning. Another problem is that the agents who were actually conducting the raid, I mean, we're talking about people who are used to raiding a single house or maybe even an apartment.
Please.
Yeah, they got this 77 acre compound to deal with now. And they were not trained for shit. They were not prepared
ATF?
for this at all.
ATF?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not ready for this. And that's quickly evident because when the raid kicks off, an ATF agent accidentally fires his gun, shooting himself in the leg while he's trying to like break through a window. At which point, the whole rest of the ATF opens up on the compound with automatic weapons. A whole government agency just fucking like hailing bullets through this building that's full of women and children.
So Koresh gets tipped off that the ATF is coming. So they're ready. They are anticipating this. Mm-hmm. Now, at one point, they have helicopters fly Is this at this point, or is this at the very end?
I feel like that's the end one.
All right, I'm gonna stop then. Like, forget I even said that, you guys. Remind me at the end.
Yeah, but the Davidians were heavily armed. They were stockpiling weapons. That wasn't just bullshit. And they fought back. They returned fire on the ATF agents. But they did not want to do this. They felt like they had to defend themselves. They really believed their religion. And they felt like this end times apocalypse was happening, but they needed to defend themselves. That's what they believed. So that's what they did. But they did get on the horn with 911 almost immediately and be like, hey, please stop shooting at us. There's kids in here.
Yeah.
So they were trying to stop it, but they were definitely defending themselves. Koresh himself was wounded almost immediately. The shooting would go on for 2 hours, in fact, until basically the ATF ran out of ammunition.
Really?
They didn't bring enough bullets. They were. I think as soon as the shooting started, their plan was basically, okay, we're going to kill all these people now. That's why they only stopped when they didn't have anything left to shoot. God. That's just my personal assessment of the way they behaved during this. After this confrontation, 5 Branch Davidians are dead. 4 ATF agents are dead, with another 16 wounded. And I mean, you can go look up the account of this for yourself. It reads half like an action movie with these people like scaling on the roof and trying to bust through windows, and half like fails because like there's constantly like you'll be reading and then it'll be like, and one ATF agent was shot in the leg and then bumped his head on the ceiling and fell off the roof. Like all kinds of like just bumbling idiots.
One of the agents was running and stepped on a friggin' hoe or a rake and then went boing,
bashed him in the face.
Yeah, and he just like shook like it's crazy. Oh, because ATF is zany. Freaking yakety sax. So Koresh is on the phone with 911 negotiating, and he's talking to this guy who's like Lieutenant Lynch, and he's like, who am I speaking with? He's like, Lieutenant Lynch. He's like, Lynch, that's a funny name. Like he's gonna get lynched. Like
yeah,
he was. Koresh had a sense of humor. Koresh had a little sense of humor on him.
Yeah, I mean, eventually the only man who could put a stop to this nonsense and get a ceasefire going was the county sheriff, who had not even been told that this raid was going to happen.
He's like, who the hell is this?
Yeah, wait,
Koresh?
What's going on? There's like a fucking army battle going on in my county and I didn't even know this was going to happen? Okay.
Sinful Messiah? Koresh? That Koresh?
Yeah, but they did eventually stop shooting. Another fuck up is 6 hours later when one of the Branch Davidians, who I don't think knew what was going on, I mean, there's no cell phones, he was just coming home from work and they shot him 8 times and killed him.
Dinner in hell.
I didn't know that.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I never heard that.
Oh, yeah, that
You
happened.
just went deep.
I think the government claims that he shot him with a pistol, but I think the evidence doesn't really support that. Like, he started shooting at them, but that doesn't make any sense to me. And I don't think the evidence corroborates that. Yeah, so I think they kind of just straight up murdered this dude. But, like I said, strong religious beliefs from the Davidians, and you know the federal government doesn't like to back down. So what happens next is a standoff for the ages.
You just made me think of the freshwater protesters of, was it South Dakota or North Dakota last year?
Yeah, the Dakota Access Pipeline.
This made me think of that. You were like, the government doesn't like to back down. I was like, yeah, I got that right.
No, I mean, if you can imagine, I mean, we saw what they did to like unarmed women and children in the Dakotas, just spraying them in the face with bear mace and shit. You can imagine how gung-ho these people are to murder a group of armed people who have killed federal agents.
Yeah.
I won't say murdered because I don't know. That's what they've done so far might be self-defense, strictly speaking.
I don't know. The ATF had a warrant They're like, we have a warrant. We here to like search the premises, and they're like, and then the one gun
they didn't even give him
off.
a chance to talk. They just opened an ATF agent shot himself, and then the rest of the ATF just started shooting.
And I guess Koresh was at the door, like ready to come out, and after the gun went off, he's like, "Fuck that!" And, like closed the door, like lock all the locks.
Would you come out after that?
Hell no. Koresh.
I mean, it's at the beginning, he could communicate and did. He was giving phone interviews to anybody who would listen, trying to, I mean, at this point, I believe, save everybody's lives. The FBI takes over now, though. Now that federal agents are dead, the FBI takes over the show. And they cut off all communications to anybody who's not an FBI negotiator. They cut off the electricity, and they cut off the water to the compound.
I heard Koresh talking on the phone to like 911, and he was like, "They're like, you still with us? Are you still on the line?" He's like, "Yeah, but the battery's about to wear out." I was thinking, is he on a cordless phone? Is the battery gonna wear out on the cordless phone?
Maybe like the generator that's powering
the phone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, they have cordless. Yeah, they had cordless phones in '93.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, just not really cell phones. Really, I don't see them having a cell phone.
Yeah, they probably didn't have one of those. Yeah, he's probably talking about a cordless. That takes me back.
It's like like the cell is blinking on it. Like
can't walk too far away from your kitchen.
Push the antenna back into it.
Change it to channel 4, maybe, so it doesn't interfere with the other handsets.
Page to find it. Beep 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 beep. Oh, it's in the couch cushion. Ah, Messiah.
Now, Koresh, he makes maybe some mistakes at this stage in the game, too. He did negotiate to leave if they would broadcast a message from him on national radio. And they did. They gave him an hour, a national broadcast. They gave him an hour, and then he was like, God's telling me to wait, telling me not to come out yet.
There's a surprise ending at the end of this radio broadcast. We'll get to that. But as for right now, here's my sermon.
Yeah, the people did come out, though. On one occasion, 19 children were released, though none of them were from the house of David. None of David's kids left.
Oh, none of David's brood?
Yeah. And on another occasion, I think out of frustration and with people maybe not being as loyal as he thought they should be, he commanded another group of people to leave the compound. The problem is they were immediately arrested, all of them, and the children were separated and put into protective custody. So then after that, the FBI wanted to negotiate more people to come out, but they knew what happened to the people who came out. It's like, the fuck you think people are going to come out when you just saw everybody who come out got arrested and the children are separated in institutional care?
And it's also weighing on David's mind that he's going to be on trial for these deaths of the ATF agents. Like, I'm going to come out and go to trial?
Yeah,
really?
He's in an extraordinarily tough spot.
Yeah, it's a great conundrum.
Like we said, there would be another raid. This siege was bookended by two fuck-ups. The FBI would... They would blast loud recordings of shit into the compound all day and night to make sure that nobody could get any peace or rest.
Like what?
They would use jet planes.
The noise of it?
Yeah. Just like out of speakers, like
Yeah.
recordings of it. Any kind of weird loud noises, pop music. They just blast pop music all night.
I got my mind set on you. Ergot from the Dinner in Hell brings you the greatest hits of George Harrison.
Oh yeah, one noise that stuck out to me that they would use is they would play a recording, and one of our listeners in particular may be very familiar with this.
What up, Yoko?
They would play a recording of rabbits being slaughtered. Let me tell you. That's a rough noise to listen to all night, I'd imagine.
Yeah. Or lambs. Like, if you ever watched a video, like, and the Arctic fox catches the hare, and the hare's like, it's like awful.
Or
we'll play a sample of it.
Yeah.
How about here's a sample of the rabbits being slaughtered noise. Fun.
Yeah, that makes me think of, like, I don't know, one of my final shreds of innocence that I lost when I realized why dog toys squeak.
Yeah.
Because that's entertaining to the dog to simulate the cries of dying animals.
Crushing the life out of it.
Yeah.
Crushing the life out of a plastic cheeseburger.
Yeah.
Want to say hello to Baru, my dog.
What's up, Baru? One of our most faithful listeners.
Her ears are not cropped, for the record. Fuck cropping ears. You hear me? Dog lovers.
I know, my dog,
Just kidding.
Petronius, his ears are definitely not cropped.
Yeah. His ears, Brad's dog's ears rest in the water bowl when he's drinking water. That's how long they are.
Yeah, that's quite unfortunate, too. It gets it all over the place. All over the Impaler estate. So this standoff goes on for 52 days. No water, no electricity. It's got to be getting rough in there. But on April 19th, armored vehicles start surrounding the compound. And they punch holes in the walls through which to insert military-grade tear gas.
Yeah. They're like, it's supposed to be lethal.
Yeah, the government's saying this is the final straw. We're going to push him out. This was Janet Reno's call, actually. She convinced President William Clinton for the authorization, and he finally says, like, all right, if this is what you want to do,
Pull the trigger.
let her rip, Reno.
Do what you got to do, Reno.
Do it to it. I don't know what kind of stupid shit Clinton would have said, but I'm sure it was stupid.
American people's lives are on the line, and I don't know. That's my Clinton.
I did not tell Janet Reno to set that compound on fire.
However, I did suggest a few tips to make her look more attractive in public. But I said with all due respect in the beginning, so it wasn't rude.
All I can think of in my mind when I think of Janet Reno now, though, is Will Ferrell playing Janet Reno.
It's Janet Reno. God damn it. Yeah, for sure. And when I was watching Janet Reno like testify and shit, she was shaking like a leaf. Her hands. I don't know if she has a condition. I hope not. But she looked like she was like, it's like, excuse me, Miss Reno. You're shaking like motherfucker. You ever spoken in front of people before?
I'd probably be shaking if someone was like, so let's talk about those people you murdered.
Yeah, the children.
Yeah, I imagine I'd be given a good shake during that questioning, too.
April 19th. April 20th, I think, was the day Columbine was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely do an episode on that at some point. It was very formative for my life. I was 12, I think, when that happened.
Yeah.
Well, so the government also claimed these holes that were being punched into the compound by the armored vehicles were supposed to serve as exits. But at this point, most of the Davidians were holed up in a cinder block bunker in the center of the compound.
Most of the children were huddled in there.
Mm-hmm. I think once the Davidians realized, I mean, to them, what this must have looked like is the end of the show. Their apocalypse had come.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, like, I think we're about to get to it, is when the tanks bust in. Apparently, one theory is that a tank hit, like, a spare propane tank and ignited a fire. Or, a kerosene lantern, I think. Because they didn't have any electricity. So you got to think they probably got lanterns lit.
Yes.
They're saying, like, a tank, like, hit that and, like, that's how it caught one of the fires started.
Yeah, I guess we'll say it now. Eventually, this place burns. I mean, most of you probably already know that, but this compound burns. And there's a wide variety of theories of varying degrees of likelihood that have been put forth for why. The propane tank is one of them. Another is that the tear gas shells that they switched to after their original type of tear gas ran out were pyrotechnic, not powder tear gas. So that may have ignited the compound, either purposefully or accidentally. However, the evidence does show that the Branch Davidians themselves did start the fire.
There's audio evidence.
Yes, the FBI would put recording equipment. They'd get it in, shoot it through windows and shit and pick up conversations.
Yeah.
And you'd hear a lot of did you pour it yet? Did you pour the fuel? Do we have any Coleman fuel left?
Bring some more hay in here.
Yeah, David said to pour all the fuel. A lot of shit like that.
Definitely have more hay in here.
Yeah, so that is what happened. The Davidians, they did set this place on fire themselves.
I heard one of the tapes has one of the guys yelling, "Yeah, make sure we spread all this gasoline out here and make sure we tell them that they started the fire by hitting a propane tank. That's the story. Remember that. Don't forget it. Okay, go."
Well, other Davidians, a few escaped during the fire. A few did.
Yeah.
And they testified that, yeah, they poured Coleman fuel all around the place, and 3 simultaneous fires appeared, which spread incredibly rapidly.
Almost as if they had a plan.
Yeah, they did, because they did it.
Kresh was chill this whole time though, up until the fire. Kresh was calling radio stations and talking, and
even with a bullet in him. Even
he's like, I got a bullet in me. I'll be all right. Messiah. Jesus had worse, both hands and feet. Anyways, this is one of my other kids. He's got video of him holding all his kids, saying hi to the camera.
Yeah. There's lots of video. If this piques your interest, there's a whole big rabbit hole to fall down here.
They all look different because they all have different moms.
Mm-hmm.
All they have different 15-year-old moms.
Yeah, exactly. So eventually this fire consumes the entire building, and 76 Branch Davidians perish in the fire. Some of those deaths due to smoke inhalation, as you may guess. There were mercy killings as well. There was a report of a 3-year-old child who had been stabbed to death to spare them from burning.
Where would you stab? Let's not say child, but where would? I guess we have to say child, but where would you?
Heart. Kids got little sternums.
Why
Probably
not?
easy to get through.
Why not the main artery? So the blood, they just kind of
yeah, I mean a nick of the vein,
thigh,
jugular or something, but I don't think I could. I think the femoral artery is real deep. I don't think that's an easy one to cut. I think it's got to be, because I think it runs along the bone.
Really?
It's got to be a deep ass cut to get your femoral artery.
Really?
I think. I don't know. I'm probably fucking wrong.
Oh, you probably are. Another dinner in hell assumptions. We gotta get on that. Dinner in hell assumptions.
But I think you
need
a deep cut to hit that artery. But the one in your neck, yeah. If I was if somebody was listen, there's no choice. You got to die by knife at some point during the next few minutes.
This kid's gonna die by burned to death unless you do something, BT.
Yeah,
here's a knife.
A nick on the side of the neck is probably what I'd go with.
Tell the kid think of birthday cake or some shit. Don't let him know. When you ever have a kid and you take them to get a shot at the pediatricians, you gotta get their attention. Hey, over here, what you want? They freaking stick him in the thigh like a baby.
See, I have the opposite thing. I have to watch it, otherwise it makes me extremely nervous.
If you ever have a child, you don't want your child to watch it.
I'm gonna teach them that they have to stare at it while it happens.
You can make them listen to 9 Inch Nails all the time. Hurt myself today.
Dude, one time I got a fucking flu shot, and it was one of those assembly line ones where you just line up and then they do it.
Yeah.
And I always watch it because I don't know when the prick's coming. It gives me anxiety.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm watching the nurse she puts it in my arm, and I'm like, okay, got the shot, and she pulls it out. Except I don't see anything come out. She pulls the syringe away, and I don't see a needle on the end of it anymore. I wasn't aware that there's retractable needles for like safety, that when you use it once, the needle goes away. And it was like sort of like a cattle situation. So like I'm getting nudged along, like, go get your cookie, asshole, get out of here. And I'm trying to get her attention. I'm like, I think you left a needle in my arm, lady, like freaking out. And she was just like, the needle retractable needle. And I'm standing there feeling like a moron.
I think this is the Dark Ages. Freaking, I had to give like blood work or something, where they like they draw it and they take like a couple different vials of it.
Yeah, and they like every time they change it, I'm like, my blood's gonna spray all over the place. And it never does. They know what they're doing.
I always, or not always. I've watched it.
It's kind of neat. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like it's part of me. Goodbye, blood. Yeah.
Shit, where were we?
Children dying. How would you save them from being burned to death? Here's another thing about the children and the tear gas was that they only had gas masks for adult size heads. So the children, none of them had gas masks.
Yeah, so the tear gas, and keep in mind the FBI definitely knew that when they were putting tear gas in the building.
Because why? Because there's no such thing as child gas masks.
Yeah.
But the parents would like take like wet towels and try to like put it over their kids' faces so they didn't have to breathe it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 76 people die. Koresh, he doesn't perish in the flames either. The evidence suggests that his top aide shot him in the head and then turned the gun on himself. Similar to good old Jim Jones that we talked about before.
Yep.
Same way out during the apocalyptic final moments of the death cult.
I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to say, this is our second cult.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
There definitely will be more in the future.
I just saw something today on social media that there was a cult that like Joaquin Phoenix was raised by.
Oh, is it the Children of God?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some bizarre sex activities in that one.
Yeah, we might find our way to a Children of God episode at some point. Well, there were surviving members, and we mentioned briefly earlier those were prosecuted. Some of them did receive sentences of up to 40 years. And you're talking about the theories on what caused this. Those theories, they've become something of a problem. A lot of people seem to believe that the Branch Davidians were not at fault for this in any way, and that the government set the fires. They had no right to surveil them. They had no right to try and serve a search warrant. I mean, I'll go right along saying the government fucked up hard on this one.
But you just said just now the government had no right to serve a search warrant, but they knew that they were modifying weapons illegally.
And they were correct about that, but some people don't buy that.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying this from your heart. Like, God damn it.
Yeah, there's a movement of people who really took offense to the way Waco was handled.
Yeah.
Which was poorly. Not as bad as they say in their propaganda, but it was poorly.
Yeah.
And along with another incident that I don't know if we'll get a full episode out of, but you may be familiar with, where a barricaded white supremacist had his 14-year-old son and wife shot at Ruby Ridge.
When was this?
I believe that was just a few years before Waco happened.
I don't remember this.
Oh, it's the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to bring up Oklahoma City.
Oh, yeah, that's next. Exactly 2 years after this raid on Waco, Texas.
On the anniversary.
A man named Timothy McVeigh used a 70-foot-long bomb to blow up the Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City. And his motivation was an exact revenge on the federal government for Waco.
It was a federal building.
Yeah.
Oh, and didn't he park the truck by like the daycare section?
Right under it. And look forward to all those details in a future episode of Dinner and Hell when we talk about the Oklahoma City federal bombing.
I'm sure our listeners out there they have other cults on their mind. I'm sure we have people that, what about the freaking one cult? If you got
Heaven's
a cult,
Gate.
Just let us know if you have a cult that you want us to get to. There's so many.
You want to hear us talk Marshall Applewhite? Doe? Hailbot, Comet,
Yeah.
secret spaceships.
Nike shoes. Brought to you by Nike. Frickin'
Let us know. Any other cults you got out there? We'll talk about them.
I want to say something about our international audience.
Lay it on me.
The last week, which was like, I think, week of January 14th, France and Japan were our second most played countries. Like, more than Canada. Usually it's US, then Canada, and then like UK. This time it was US, then France and Japan.
France?
Yeah.
Je t'aime. Japan? Hajime mashite.
Damn! Which means I respect you as a woman and as a person.
I think it means nice to meet you.
Oh, okay.
Something along those lines. I don't know much Japanese.
We have another new nation that tuned in.
Mm-hmm.
This is awesome. Ready for this? The nation of Bermuda.
What is up, Bermuda?
Freaking Bermuda Triangle. I didn't even think of it. We got to do a Bermuda Triangle. Amelia Earhart episode you'll never forget. Hamilton, Bermuda listened. Now, I went to Google and searched population of Hamilton, Bermuda. Because I'm curious. I went deep. Can I get it going deep? Dinner in hell. Population 1,010. Okay. So that means...
Yeah, 0.1% of Hamilton has listened to our show.
We'll take it. Hamilton, Bermuda. We're coming. We're doing a tour stop in Hamilton, Bermuda.
Man, I'm glad this is not a fucking... We already kind of did.
What?
Did our tour down there.
Yeah. We won't discuss where, but...
Check out our Island Stravaganza episode. I bet Bermuda'd like that one.
And like Brad mentioned earlier, we did Jonestown Massacre, so look that up on SoundCloud as well, or iTunes.
And there's a couple real juicy, culty, serial killery, supervillainy things in the pipeline, too.
Oh, yeah. We've got a Pope on deck. We've got a famous explorer that was claimed to discover new lands on deck, who has his own national day named after him, and a city in Ohio. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you're going to have to sit tight. A few more weeks. Christopher Columbus. I couldn't keep it in.
I was just too excited.
This freaking band.
Oh, they sound incredible.
This band gets me excited. I run home after each taping.
Dead sprint.
I take the train in, I run home.
All these people in the audience, too, they look incredible.
Ticket agent's like, one way again, Mr. Maiden. You got it, Floyd. Oh, this audience, you're right. To Brad's point, this audience is amazing.
Yeah, so if you got anything you want us to cover, you can hit us up on Twitter at Dinner and Hell Pod. We're on Facebook. We're on SoundCloud. We're on YouTube. Any bizarre pod service, we're on all them shits. Don't hesitate to let us know what you'd like to hear. We'll give it to you.
We're on pod shit.
We're on Podbeat. That's a podcast app for zombies.
Podsicle. We're on so many pod app sites. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's out of control.
Tide Pod Delicacy. We're on that.
Yep. You eat it and you hear it in your stomach. Thank you. Good night.